Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tilting Ground Untitled Notre Dame USC Football Podcast. I'm Michael Muto, and I'm here with UHND's Notre Dame football expert, Greg Flamong. Greg, football happened. Games were played. Both our teams won. How you feeling?
I'm feeling amazing. Amazing. Great. Great and good.
Fantastic.
Good and great. Yes.
So before we get into the games, where did you watch the games?
I couldn't watch USC, as we talked about, because they're on the Pac-12 network, and we don't get that. I don't get it on YouTube TV, and DirecTV doesn't get, and my parents, DirecTV doesn't get the Pac-12 network, so I couldn't watch, but I did follow along on Twitter. I've got a couple of USC people in my feed, so I was following along that way.
Okay.
So I know how they felt about it. And this is like Ryan Abraham and this girl Keely Yuri.
Okay.
I don't know how to say her last name.
I don't either.
Right, but that's who I follow. She's just pretty good. Her live updates are really helpful. So I followed her along for that, and then for Notre Dame, Michigan, I was at my parents'.
Okay, so I was the reverse. I have to give a shout out to my wife here. We had a baby shower this weekend. I had to prep for it on Saturday, but she arranged the schedule so I could watch the USC game.
Incredible!
So
Woman.
I was watching on an iPad with my family because that's the only way we can get the Pac-12 network.
Yeah.
And then I caught bits and pieces of the Notre Dame game as I was moving around town, but I got the gist of it.
Yeah, watching a game like Notre Dame Michigan with people is a little dangerous for me because that's a game that I'm going to be very intense about. So like this weekend I can watch with whoever, it doesn't matter. I'll just sit and watch. But that game, there's a lot of stuff like I told you last week I already don't like Michigan, so that's a big thing.
All right, well, let's get to it. So on Saturday, Jim Harbaugh and the hated Michigan Wolverines marched into South Bend. Before the game, smart money came pouring in on Michigan, moving the line in their favor and making the Fighting Irish 3-point underdogs. I'll tell you more about that later. Smart money be damned. Notre Dame came away with a 24-17 opening night victory. Irish quarterback Brandon Wimbush was a crisp 12 for 22 with 170 yards through the air, and with 59 yards on the ground, it was Notre Dame's leading rusher. On the other side of the ball, the Irish defense was stout, forcing turnovers and sacking the quarterback 3 times. Although Notre Dame came out swinging and laid it on Michigan early, the Irish failed to score a touchdown in the second half. Greg, how do you feel about the opening night game?
Fabulous, I think.
Okay.
To put a word on it. I mean, here's the thing, and I told you about it last week. Like, it doesn't really matter. A game like this, there's 2 teams that are essentially evenly matched, and there's going to be bad stuff, right? It's like opening game, so like not everything is going to be, crisp or, look exactly how it's supposed to. Like, there's going to be some sloppiness, there's going to be some poor play. That's just the nature of it. Any opening game is like that, and especially when you're playing a big rival. Like, there's so much going on. There's so much game pressure, and when you play a team like Michigan, that you just know, like, you're going to lose, like, you're going to look bad at times. And Notre Dame did, like, on offense, they had a lot of plays for lost yardage on defense. Michigan got them on some plays, but I think I honestly, I was afraid after 2014 and how much Notre Dame fans were just making fun of Michigan for shutting them out. And, it was a humiliating thing. Like, it was humiliating the way Notre Dame won the game. And there was a pick 6 at the end, and their quarterback got blindsided by a guy. And they called the penalty, so the pick 6 didn't count. But Notre Dame fans claim it, right? We claim, right. And there's a whole Remember the 6 thing on Twitter that is just fantastic. Everyone loves it. And it's been going on for 4 years. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is awesome, but there's going to be a comeuppance. Like, you can't just do this, and the other team is just, going to forget. Like, this is what happens, right? You get to have your fun, and then there's a comeuppance later. And I felt like Notre Dame would be up against it. And instead, they came out, and like 5 minutes into the game, they were up 14-0.
It was wild. It was wild to watch.
Yeah, like, because everyone had been talking about the Michigan defense and how good they are. And they're good. Like, they've got some excellent players. They had guys that Notre Dame just simply could not block for most of the game. And Notre Dame went down and scored in their first two possessions. They had a 75-yard drive on their first possession, and their second possession was a 96-yard drive.
I mean, that's super impressive, especially when everyone's, a little worried about the quarterback to begin the season.
And their third, they had 3 touchdown drives. That one was 15 plays, 75 yards. Now,
that's what you were worried about going into the game.
I did not think that was even possible. I mean, maybe 1, but definitely not 3.
In the first half.
I'll tell you who else didn't think that was possible. Michigan didn't think that was possible either. So, I mean, they had all the points that they needed in the first half. I didn't think that they necessarily bogged down in the second half. Like in the third quarter, they had a long drive to kick a field goal. They took some shots that they just didn't hit on, and that's the way shots work, right? Like sometimes you hit them and sometimes you don't. That's why they're called 50-50 shots.
Right.
But I still thought they were aggressive. Wimbush had thrown a touchdown pass to Miles Boykin that called back because of penalty. And then once the fourth quarter came, it became apparent that Michigan, it was going to be really hard for them to score on Notre Dame's defense. So as long as you gave them a long field, everything was going to be fine. And it was. They had one long drive that resulted in a touchdown, but then they couldn't do it again.
Right. And then the other touchdown was that awful kick return. Well,
see, that was the one. That was,
I guess, awful if you're a Notre Dame fan, not awful if you're.
That was the one that got me in trouble.
I can imagine.
I got yelled at for that because it's not like quite a curse, but it was the GD, the goddamn it, loud. And like, I'm at my parents' house, and so I've got my kids there, and I've got my nieces and nephews there. So, I mean, look, I'm a child, okay? Like, when that game is going on, I am not a grown man. I am a little boy. So, but other than that, I mean, what can you say? They beat Michigan in the opener.
And you have to like how it ended on a big sack and a fumble recovery.
Loved it. And here's the thing, Michael. I told you last week that Michigan needed the game more. And I didn't even mention the whole 2014 thing, and I really should have. And everything that I thought could happen as a result of Michigan losing has happened. The fans are calling for Jim Harbaugh. What's his problem? He's no better than Brady Hoke. You've got Braylon Edwards and the Big Ten Network like calling out players, calling out the program. He's getting suspended from his job. It's incredible. I mean, it's everything that you want. It's like it's happening.
Michigan needed it more.
I can't believe it. And they came out there and look, I mean, there's no other way to put it. Notre Dame was the better coach team. They were more prepared. Their quarterback was the better quarterback, and their defense was the better defense. And were it not for their terrible special teams, they were terrible. I couldn't like how many times, just aside from the fact that they gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown, okay? How many times are they going to punt the ball and the guys don't know where the ball is? It happened at least 3 times where the ball, like they're all standing around the punt returner at the 20, and meanwhile the ball's landing at the 3 or the 5 or something. It's like, find the ball. So, and we've got like 25-yard punts from our the guy's a captain.
I
The
know what
punter-
that's like.
The punter is a captain, Michael. And so he get 25-yard punt deep in our own end. So Michigan has like a 30-yard drive to kick a field goal. So, I mean, Notre Dame was in control.
Yeah, the whole time.
They were in control. It was awesome.
So who's the MVP of the game for you?
I mean, I don't know how you don't just give it to Brandon Wimbush. I mean, there are a ton of good players, right? Like, there's a ton of great things that happen in the game. But this guy, and I texted Timmy. I texted Tim before the game, like before the kickoff. Is like I liked how his face looked. I liked the look on his face. Like, he seemed relaxed. He seemed confident. He seemed like, okay, I know exactly how this game needs to go. Because who knows how it's going to go, but it's like he had that mindset of like, I'm in for a real game here. And you got a sense of how it was going to go for him on the third play of the game. It was third and I want to say it was 3rd and 11 because they lost yards and then they threw an incomplete pass on the second one. 3rd and 11. And it's a pass play, and he's got Chase Claypool on a crossing route, but the defensive end, I don't know if it was like the quarterback's responsible for him or it was just a mistake in the pass protection, but the defensive end came untouched. And he throws the ball and he gets hit right away, and it's perfectly in stride to Claypool, and he runs for 15 yards and a first down. Play after that, he hits Miles Boykin on kind of like a go route up the sideline for 30-yard catch. Then he gets he's on a zone read. He gets poked in the eye, and he comes out, and then they score on the next play. I mean, when you complete the third down pass and then the pass after that, it's like, oh, okay, like we've got good Brandon today. And good Brandon means, look, he finished with 54% passing. But he was aggressive. He didn't shy away from contact, which he got a ton of. I mean, he was hit all night. They couldn't block Winovich, number 15. They had trouble with Rashawn Gary. They had trouble with Devin Bush, number 10. I mean, these guys are real players.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan's a good team.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting hit all over the place. And he stood in there. He took it. He was keeping the ball on zone reads, even sometimes when he shouldn't have. But it's like, if it's borderline, it's like, I want to keep it. And he did. He's running up in there, and look, the play of the game, maybe the play of the season, it's 21-10 in the third quarter. He gets sacked by Chase Winovich and Devin Bush. And I want to say sacked, like Devin Bush has him wrapped up. He's going backwards. And I'm thinking the ref can blow the whistle at any point here. He doesn't blow the whistle. So instead, Devin Bush is kind of holding him up, and then Winovich comes in and hits him, and they slam him to the ground, and then they blow the whistle. It's like, thank you for getting our quarterback killed, taking an extra shot and throwing him to the ground.
Player
Very
safety.
cool of you. Right. So it's 3rd and 18. They run a quarterback draw. He goes up the middle, and there's about 4 yards to go, and he's got 3 people coming in on him, and he just lowers his head. He takes a hit, and he falls forward for another, I want to say 8 yards, 22-yard gain, first down. They go down and end up with a field goal on the drive, which makes it a 14-point game instead of 11. I mean, and now they need 2 touchdowns, which is kind of insurmountable the way Notre Dame's defense was playing. I mean, to go from getting sacked on one play, getting thrown into the turf, to putting your head down for a 22-yard gain, I mean, that's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, like, get on my back. This is my team. I've got this. Like, I've got you guys.
That's what you like to see.
I'm the leader of this team. And that's what he needs, because he's not going to be a 65% passer. He's not going to do that stuff. He needs to be the guy that says it doesn't matter if I made an incomplete pass here or if I made a bad read here. It's like, I'm going to keep coming. I'm going to keep competing. I'm going to keep making plays. He did it. It was beautiful. So happy for him. I'll never doubt him again. He gave me USC in 2017 and Michigan in 2018. I'm happy with it.
You won't doubt him again. But what about Ian Book? Does Brian Kelly still doubt Brandon Wimbush?
I don't think it's a question of doubting. Like, apparently they have a goal line package for Ian Book, which is weird because Brandon Wimbush is really good in the red zone. So I don't really get that. But all right. I mean, he was in for 2 plays. He handed off and they scored 2 touchdowns. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. The thing is that Brandon is he's not gonna just simply, because I'm really curious to see what happens against Ball State this week, because you don't have that intensity, you don't have that adrenaline that comes along with Michigan, like that laser focus. And so against Ball State, he's gonna have time to set his feet, and kind of pick out people. And sometimes more time leads to more thought in your mind, which leads to inaccuracy. It's a little different. Like against Michigan, it's like whatever we can get is fine, right? And if we have to punt, that's all good. But against Ball State, you want to score on every possession. Like you feel like we should never have to punt. So there's a little different kind of pressure on him. His mind is moving a little bit more so than it would be against like a really good team. So he's still going to struggle. Like there's going to be games this year where you feel like, I mean, what's he doing?
Right.
Like we got to be able to complete an out route kind of thing. But you just have to accept it. Like he is who he is. And look, like I said, he's good enough to beat an 11-win USC team last year. He's good enough to beat a really good defense against Michigan, so you got to ride him.
I like it, Greg. I like the optimism.
Yeah, you just got to accept it. I mean, why would you, like, if you just look at it, who he's beaten? He's beaten some good teams, and he's dominated them. Like he dominated. Like you go back to last year, he dominated, and I said it last week. If you just look at the games that he's won. He dominated Michigan State on the road last year. He dominated USC. He dominated NC State. I mean, those are all ranked teams, like really good teams. And then he came out and did the thing against Michigan. I mean, and we're talking about benching him. Like at some point, you just have to accept what he is.
Right.
I mean, they've won games.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame is now ranked number 8 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They have Ball State on this coming weekend. What's this Saturday have in store, or what are you thinking?
Well, so they're favored by like 33.5 or 34 or something.
It's 34.5.
It's 34.5 now.
Yeah.
So it opened at 33.5, I think.
Okay.
So that's going up. It's one of these games, like, you just shouldn't be worried about the outcome.
This is a tune-up, right?
Right. And the thing is like I said last week, that you play Michigan and then the season starts. You have to actually build the team that you are. You don't want to run Wimbush as much. You want to get the running backs some work because that's a young group. You want to get receivers involved. You want to get the defense going. Like you want to see like Houston Griffith at safety, the freshman. Like you want to get him out there, like get him in the nickel, like get him used to being in different kind of situations. He played a little bit against Michigan, but they're going to need him eventually. Same thing with Nick Coleman. Same thing with Dante Vaughn, the backup corner. Like you want to get these guys out there. Like this is a perfect situation to build your team and to actually build up again. So it's like you have your big performance and then you break them down and you go to build, because you go with Ball State, then you have Vanderbilt, and then you have Wake Forest, and then you have Stanford. So it's like they get progressively better.
But so should Notre Dame.
And so should Notre Dame, right? So they should be able to just kind of ease into it and then try to peak again in 4 weeks against Stanford. So you host Stanford, then you're away from Virginia Tech. And those are the two games that are just like, okay, we need to peak for those. We can tune up against Ball State. We can clean up some more things against Vanderbilt. We go on the road to Wake Forest, where they got to be sharp in that game. Anytime you go on the road against a team like Wake Forest, who, is a middle of the road, big conference team, you can lose to them, right? You shouldn't, but you can.
Could. They're good enough to beat you.
Yeah, and like Vanderbilt, not really. Ball State, definitely not. Vanderbilt's a little bit better than Ball State, but not so much so, especially at home. So look, in that sense, the schedule sets up really well. The second half of the year, not so much. We've talked about it before, like they go on the road, and it's a big problem. They need to have more home games, but that is what it is.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm looking for improvement. I'm looking for a lot of people to get into the game next week and just see like new faces. Put these guys in situations, like let them be playmakers. Okay. I don't want to, like I was just talking about before, like I'm not really interested in seeing like kind of like a ball control kind of offense as far as with the passing game. Like continue to be aggressive, like continue to take shots, like continue to go deep, because that's the kind of team they need to be. Like you should be the same team every single week, because that's what they need to be, right? Like you're not gonna be dinky dunky against Stanford or Virginia Tech. Like you're gonna be aggressive. Like you're gonna be a run team. You're gonna play action team. In play action, you can go deep. You've got a bunch of big guys, right? You've got Chris Fink, who apparently can go jump over people.
Who knew?
And make plays. Exactly. So
right, you can't change it up. You gotta you gotta be who you are, and that's who Notre Dame is.
And that's who they need to be. Like that's a winning formula for them. That's the thing. They talked about, we're not going to try to make Brandon into something that he's not. So
don't. Yeah,
exactly. Don't try it. Don't try to do dinky dunky, because that's not who he is. He's not going to succeed that way.
All right. So Greg, you don't know this, but sports betting is very big in America now. It's legal in almost everywhere, right?
You don't say.
So I've opened an account somewhere that has 100 that started with 100 jeweled shillelaghs. We'll call them.
Okay.
And that's why I was asking you so much about the spread on Friday for Notre Dame. So I took your Notre Dame advice and put 5 jeweled shillelaghs on the Irish, and they paid off. Unfortunately, when we get to the USC part of the gambling section, didn't pay off. So what do you got for this week? You're 1-0 so far. It's Notre Dame, 34.5 point favorite. Ball State's coming to town. What do you got?
Man, 34.5. I'm gonna say I would take the points.
Okay. And I'm going to check in with Greg again before the weekend starts, just to, in case anything happens, someone gets hurt, those kind of things. But as we stand now,
if I was to bet, I would bet on a letdown.
Okay. I mean, winning by 30 points is not a letdown, by the way. Just because
I mean, like I always try to think of a score. Like I remember in 2015, Notre Dame beat UMass 55-27. So what is that? 28?
Yeah.
Something like that sounds right. Like maybe 45.
That's a pretty big win.
Maybe 45-17 though.
Okay.
It's a big win, but I don't know. Maybe 35-17. Right. I just feel like it'll be kind of choppy.
Okay. So, any other Notre Dame news and notes before we kick it over to the other side?
let's see. The backup defensive lineman Myron Tagovailoa Mosa. He broke his foot, so he'll be out for 10 weeks. I saw Brandon Wimbush was 30-1 to win the Heisman now. He opened at 50.
Ooh, creeping down.
Then he got to 40, and now he's at 30. So
just keep your eyes on that.
That's just a thing. Yeah. Well, there's a guy, he's called Rakes of Malo, but Chris Wilson is his name. He has a blog of his own. He has a newsletter, like a weekly newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And he put on Twitter that he put a bet down on Wimbush at 50-1. And so now he's the one who's updating. That's why I know that.
Okay, got it.
So, yeah. So I think that's it. Okay. I mean, there's not much else going on.
Big win for the Irish.
I mean, it's enormous, right?
That's how you want to start things off.
Nobody likes them.
Nobody.
So, do we want to talk about your team?
Let's do it.
We were not right about this game, Michael.
We were close.
Not really.
That's true.
I mean, well, in the way that we went about it, we were talking about like we didn't even really preview the game. We talked about the cool names on UNLV. That's it. And
those cool names hit. So
they did, and it was 14-9.
Those were all the names you needed to know.
Like in the middle of the second quarter. So it ended up 43-21. USC ultimately prevailed, although they did give up 308 yards rushing on 43 attempts. That's 7.2 yards a carry, Michael.
That's a lot.
Not super exciting. UNLV couldn't muster much of a passing game. They had 97 total net yards, 12 of 27 passing, 3.6 yards per attempt. That is no good, Michael.
No.
Although they did score 2 touchdowns. What is that, through the air? Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little interesting. USC was saved by their freshman quarterback, JT Daniels, and his teammate, his one-time high school teammate, now college teammate, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the freshman, 7 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Daniels was, let me just check here. He 22 of 35 for 282 yards, 8.1 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown passing. USC finished with 501 total yards of offense. They averaged 6.9 yards per play, although they did surrender 405 yards total offense on 5.8 yards per play. Let's see. There was 1 turnover, I see. Yes, 1 turnover for UNLV, none for USC.
Correct.
And they ultimately prevailed 43-21. Our boy Aka Cedric Ware, he finished with 100 yards rushing
on 10 carries.
10 yards a carry is very good. Stephen Carr, 9 for 57, but 40 of that came on 1 carry. So otherwise, 8 for 17, not great. What do you say? Vave?
I think it's Vivi Malapie.
Vivi Malapie.
Vave. I can never get it. I switch it up every time.
Okay. He was 8 for 47.
2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. He had along a 20. So they had some chunk plays there rushing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big scuttlebutt on Twitter about JT Daniels was that he couldn't get in sync with Tyler Vaughns. People were concerned about that. So I don't know. How did you take it in, Michael?
Right.
I mean, like we said, UNLV was up 14-9. And then I think it was it 14-12 before that?
Yes, that sounds right. I think
that's right. And then USC scored right before the half.
Yeah.
And then they got up 26-14.
And then it was over for all intents and purposes.
That was in the fourth quarter, right? USC outscored. So it was 19-14 going to the fourth quarter, and then USC outscored them 24-7.
Yeah, they opened it up.
Yeah.
All right. So where am I? Is the question. I'm in a glass half full kind of mode at the moment. Where I am actually is where I was last year at this exact moment. So last year was a tough opener. Sam Darnold, the starting quarterback for the Jets, did not play that well. Receivers were dropping the ball. The running back saved the day, and the defense was getting gashed. So here we are, one whole calendar year later. The passing game was a little better. I still got receivers dropping the ball everywhere. The running game, not quite as good, but, that's okay because the passing game was a little better. Defense, still getting gashed all over the place. But they ended up winning. The game was a lot closer, though they played a worse opponent. It was a tune-up. It's the best I can hope for at this point. I know that they have playmakers. I know they can get better. There's room for improvement. Would I like the starting bar to be a little higher? Yes, but there were flashes. There were flashes for JT Daniels, flashes for Amon-Ra St. Brown. We know Tyler Vaughn is good. We know Michael Pittman is good, though he dropped a touchdown pass. So the writing's on the wall. Starting center Toa Lobodon wasn't playing, so the interior got a little beat up. The defense always gets better as the season goes along. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is, man. That's where I am at this moment. Stephen Carr didn't get that many carries. He had 2 really big plays. So you hope you get more of those as the season progresses. You hope the receivers don't drop the ball because, I mean, that was a big problem through, I don't know, episode 7 of this podcast. It was just Deontay Burnett who could catch. So hopefully it's not just, Amon-Ra St. Brown who's catching touchdowns. Trayvon Sidney showed up late with a great catch. So, I mean, there's playmakers everywhere. And you hope that they can just put it all together when it counts. And that's what happened last year. They almost lost to Western Michigan. And then, boom, they go to Stanford and just run all over them. So I expect a similar pattern for USC.
So I think it's important to remember that Toa Lobodon was out.
Yeah.
It's a big deal when you have your center out, just because the center usually gets everyone involved, right? Like they set everything up.
Yes.
I think if Notre Dame lost Sam Mustipher, there would be some
confusion.
There would be a drop off. So that's, it's important to keep that in mind. I remember as I'm taking in the game, Daniel Jeremiah, the former scout, who I think is now maybe he does TV for the Chargers.
I think maybe NFL Network. I don't know.
He's an NFL Network guy, and he does the scouting. He's into the whole scouting thing. Respected. I think we can safely say that. He tweeted in the middle of the second quarter, near the end of the second quarter, that USC looked bad in all 3 phases, which I will admit delighted me quite a bit, just because it's nice to hear. But I think that it seemed to me, and just because I was following along on Gamecast a little bit, it seemed to me that they were doing the thing that we were talking about. They were kind of being safe with Daniels. I remember he was something like 11 of 20 for like 90 yards at one point or something like that. So it was like they were really just dinky dunking the ball around all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second half, they started to take some shots. He hit a deep one to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He hit a couple deep ones to Trayvon Sidney. He ended up with 3 catches for 72 yards with a long of 41. He hit Michael Pittman on a 36-yarder. So I think once they said, you know what, like let's let him.
It's UNLV. This kid's good.
Let's let him let it go a little bit. And once that happened, everything kind of opened up for him.
I mean, I never felt worried because they were always scoring. So
they were moving the ball. They just weren't. They weren't scoring touchdowns.
Right. They got field goals every time, just about, and they were always there. It's just you would have liked a better, a more clean performance.
Yeah, they weren't bogged down. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
Um,
you can see. I never was like, oh no, this is the upset. This is the where it gets bad. I always felt like this is fine, and then it was.
yeah, I was only wondering like how long is this going to stay competitive?
Right.
And 19-14 going to the fourth quarter, like you still have to.
It's closer than you like.
You got to make plays at that point,
Yeah.
I mean, a bright side for you guys is, your kicker, right?
Well,
5 for 5.
Yeah, the place kicker, not the punter. Punter was terrible.
The place kicker, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad that we can keep the special teams chronicles going through this season.
Oh yeah.
So this one was mixed bag because they had school record for field goals in a game, a nice little kick return by Stephen Carr. However, the punt unit was atrocious. Oh, and there was a fake punt run against the punt unit. So that was very successful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks.
I deciphered that from your text.
I texted Greg. Amon-Ra St. Brown just made a tackle on a fake punt play. Greg responded back, "That means it must have worked." It's like, yep, that's what happened. You know what made me the most mad? I think, and this is kind of where I knew that I was going to have to wait a while for USC to pull ahead on this one. The very first play of the game, you know your center's not hurt. Everyone thinks you're about to run the ball. And, of course, USC runs the ball right up the middle, right into, 5 UNLV defenders. And now you're in 2nd and 10 with a freshman quarterback. It's like, just let your guys try to win, man. It's like, maybe run a sweep. You have better athletes than UNLV. Put a fast guy out there who can run past them. Don't run straight up the middle where you're probably the weakest and everyone knows the ball's going. It's just like, come on.
It's just so incredibly unfun.
Yeah, that too. It just made me so mad.
In fairness, that's exactly what Notre Dame did. They ran straight up the middle against Michigan and they lost a yard. But that's different. That's against Michigan, you actually have to have a plan. So that sort of thing is there's a means to an end to that sort of play. Whereas against UNLV, you just run whatever you want.
If you run play, I think you run play action right there. Honestly,
if you are, you know what? The fact that you just told me that actually makes me upset. If you are Clay Helton and you have your freshman quarterback and you have his freshman teammate who everyone is excited about on the team, and you don't run play action and a post route or something, then I don't even know what to say. That's just such a no-brainer.
And then Amon-Ra St. Brown could look at the Coliseum fans and go, "Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?" Did he do that?
No, but he should.
Oh. Well, it's just it's so obvious. Just chuck it deep.
It's what everyone in the building wants.
Everyone wants it.
The players want it. The coaches want it. Well, not all the coaches. The fans want it. I mean, UNLV probably wants to see it. They're like, yeah, freshmen, try to go deep on us.
It's LA too. You do that in LA. I promise you. I'm gonna promise you something right here. The first play. This is an LA thing. It's not a Notre Dame USC thing. Mm-hmm. The first play of the Lakers season is going to be a lob from Lonzo to LeBron. I promise you. That's what it's going to be. And that's what you do, right? You have this new toy. You have this new thing you want to play with. You throw them a lob. Everyone's going to go all excited.
Yeah.
Throw a post. Now, I will say this, Michael. The difference is if Notre Dame has a game similar to the one that they just played, the USC just played,
okay,
right? So it's they're down for a little bit and then they take the lead and then they eventually pull away. I won't really care because I already saw the payoff. You know what I mean?
I am not following.
They beat Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't really matter. right? Because it doesn't matter to me if they struggle against
As long as
Ball
they
State.
win.
They beat Michigan.
Yeah.
That's the one that they need to win. So if USC beats Stanford, no one cares.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter at all. So
And it's just, I just hate Clay Helton. I'm sorry. I know I sound like a broken record.
that's very strong, Michael.
I know it's getting rough, and they win 10 games a year or whatever, and they lose to every ranked team they play. Well, I get it, but I just hate him. He's just so vanilla. He's so not fun. He's so I don't know what I don't know why everyone I don't know why they like him. I guess you can't get rid of him if you win the Pac-12.
Well, the problem is you've seen the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And so you've seen it at your school, and it's recent. So it's like you know what it looks like. You know what it looks like at USC. You know how the team plays. You know how it – I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, you know how it feels.
Right.
You feel a certain way when watching a championship team. And you don't feel it.
Not yet. And I don't even mind that the defense gives up big plays. Like, everyone's all just bent out of shape about that in USC land. And, I know it's not great, but
It really is not, by the way.
they led the nation in last year. But it's like, they had 5 sacks. That's good. They do other things that are good. They're kind of bonehead plays that usually get broken. Like, it was a fake reverse that Lexington Thomas busted for the touchdown.
Untouched.
Right before the play, the announcers were comparing him to Reggie Bush, and I pfft at that, and then he scored a 70-yard touchdown. So that was on me. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think they're fine. It's just, but that's the problem. They're just fine. They have some of the best players in the nation, and they're just fine. And it's just so upsetting. It's just, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. It's, yeah, like you said. Yeah, I know what a good team looks like, and it's not these guys. But it could be. That's the problem.
It could be.
Like, I know they're not topping out. That's the problem. But I guess their floor with Clay Helton is also very high.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're never going to go, 5-6 or whatever. That's not even the right number. 5-7. They're always going to at least, win 9 games, I bet. Just because. And it's frustrating.
Just good enough to keep them around.
Yeah.
Love it.
The play calling is never dynamic. I don't even know who's calling the plays. They put Matt Fink in before JT Daniels even scored a touchdown yet. It's like, that's great. They used to do that to Sam Darnold too. It's like, let's run some garbage goal line package for you, even though you're not our starting quarterback yet. It's like what are you doing? What are you doing?
It is weird.
I hate it. I hate everything about it. Hey, but they won, right? They won, and I was being glass half full.
They did win, and on to the next.
I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown was as advertised. Tyler Vaughns was one of the best receivers in the Pac-12 last year, so he could only get better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess not, because that was one of the comments in the season preview was that USC receivers don't get better. So,
oh yeah, that's true.
So we'll see. No tight end action in this game, so that's a point that could be improved upon. The D line was better than the interior defensive line was better than last year, I thought. So lots of good things. True starting redshirt freshman. Oh no, I can't remember his name now. He caused a fumble in the first play of the game. Porter Gustin recovered it. Porter Gustin got a sack. Like, there's good things. They're good bones.
Mm-hmm.
So
are you thinking of Isaiah Polamalu?
Yes. I was going to say Polamalu, and then that's why I stopped.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I stopped. So,
y'all got a big one this week.
So it's Stanford. I don't know. I have faith. I have faith in the team. They did it last year. They could do it again this year. I don't know Toa Lobodon status, so
he did not practice today. He did show up for the scout portion.
Okay, that's good.
On Twitter. So he didn't do one-on-ones and he didn't do anything else, but he showed up. He showed up for the scout team, which I don't know. I kind of see that as a bad sign, actually.
That's
like
they
well, I think the way it works, at least for Notre Dame, if he doesn't practice tomorrow, then
no chance.
I don't know how it works for them because he's a senior and he's the center. So presumably he doesn't need to be a huge part of game week prep because he kind of knows all the calls and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But you do need, like, usually they like guys to be in on the game plan. It's weird because I remember what was it? When I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
if you were dinged up, it's like, I mean, as long as you're good by Thursday, like they'll take you up to the day. Like you don't have to practice. It's like if you feel fine on Thursday walkthrough, or at least good enough to do walkthrough, and then you feel fine on Friday, then you can play. And it's like that's what I always thought. And then you get to college, and it was like, no, like you didn't practice on Wednesday when we put in the game plan. Therefore, like you're not going to play in this game
because you need to know what we're doing.
And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And so it's like you get to Friday, and it's like, well, actually, I feel pretty good. And they're like, well, you can dress up if you want, but we're not going to put you in the game.
Tough rocks.
Yeah. And so that's how it was. And I think so. I mean, maybe it's like that at USC. Notre Dame is similar to that, where you just can't go out there if you don't practice during the week. So,
well, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, didn't need him before. You need him now.
The line keeps inching in Stanford's favor. Right now, it's USC's a 5-point underdog.
Is that really? Because
Yeah.
I saw it. They opened at 6.
Oh, let's see.
I might be wrong, but I remembered thinking, oh, like they think on a neutral site, on a neutral field, it's a pick 'em. Because usually you get 6 points or 6 points
I think
for
it's 3.
Oh, 3 points? Oh, okay.
That's at least the pros. Maybe college is a little different. According to my research here, it opened at Stanford as a 4-point favorite.
Okay.
And now has moved up to 5. ESPN says 6. Whatever. Keep counting out the Trojans. That's fine. That's what happened last year.
Did they?
I think, yeah. I'm pretty sure Stanford was the favorite last year. And then Stephen Carr and Ronald Jones just ran all over him.
Well,
so hopefully JT Daniels throws all over him.
Yeah, the word on Stanford so far is that their defense is not great and their offense is good.
See, so that's perfect. It's perfect for USC.
It is. You know?
So I am cautiously optimistic.
I was talking to Timmy today. I was thinking about because on Monday, Florida State and Virginia Tech played.
In that awful game.
It was terrible. I don't want to get too off on a tangent, but I have no idea what Florida State was doing on offense. Like I literally don't.
They were one of my dark horse college football playoff teams. I'm really glad I didn't say anything about it.
I was like, what are they doing? Like, what are you doing? Like the thing with the third down when they fumbled on the Wildcat.
I don't know.
What? Like it was 3rd and 11. Like it was 3rd and goal from the 10 or the 11 or something, and they ran Wildcat. Like this guy was gonna run it in. Like, and then of course he fumbled because he's not a quarterback.
Right.
And they didn't get any points. It was insane. Anyway, so it made me think about Notre Dame plays both of those teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, like, or people wonder, like, what team do we want to win? And usually I don't think about that. Usually I'm like, I don't care. Whatever.
Right, whatever happens. Just win the games.
Yeah,
Notre Dame will be fine.
Yeah, like people are like, okay, now we have to cheer for Michigan. Like, I'm not cheering for Michigan. It's stupid. I hope they win. I hope they lose all the games. But so USC and Stanford play, and Notre Dame plays both of those teams too. And I actually did think about this,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking that Notre Dame would want USC to win.
So the end of the season is better for them?
Yeah, kind of. So the way that I was thinking is that right now Stanford is 10 and USC is 17.
Well,
So
yeah, I'll get to that too.
I know you
forgot about
will.
that.
I know
Yeah.
you will, Michael. So it's like no matter what, like if Stanford loses this game, let me look at their schedule real quick before I say this because I was telling it to Tim on the phone
Here,
and I didn't have schedule in front of me.
I have it up.
Something.
I had it up.
All right, so let's see. So it's Davis,
yeah, Oregon,
Oregon,
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. So I don't know. Do you think Oregon's good?
I mean, they got a new coach. Wasn't their old coach the guy coaching Florida State? So
Jeez.
he's probably an upgrade.
Yeah, it's true. So I guess that's interesting. Okay, so well, my assumption is even if Stanford is to lose to USC,
Mm-hmm.
they'll get to Notre Dame and they'll still be ranked.
Yes.
So it's like Notre Dame's playing a ranked team no matter what. So if they beat them, they'll get credit for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if Notre Dame was to lose to them, they might need a better USC team at the end
Okay.
to get a quality win. So Notre Dame has Stanford, then Virginia Tech back to back. In a vacuum, I like Notre Dame against both of those teams, but put together, like in the context of a season, it's like, man, I feel like it's a big ask to win both of those games, especially with Virginia Tech on the road.
Back to back.
Yeah. So, but it's like it's positioned at a point in the schedule where if they were to drop one of those games, they have time. They have time to play well, get back into the conversation. They have Florida State in November, and they have USC at the end of the season. So let's say they have one loss, and you've got USC coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame might need a good USC win, like a good win against a good USC team.
Like a 1 or 2 loss USC team.
Yeah. So I don't like. I feel like we don't need USC accumulating losses in the second week
because they could be coming later.
Yeah. So it's like you don't want, like Tim was like, well, what is USC 7-4? I'm like, that's no good.
Yeah.
It's not a ranked team, and even if it is like in the bottom of the rankings, well, if Notre Dame beats them, which is what they need, then they're 7-5. Definitely not a ranked team.
Yeah.
And who knows what USC is at that point? Like, who's even playing for them at that point?
Yeah.
So if Notre Dame has one loss, they might be on the bubble
right there.
So
speaking of rankings, before we get out of here,
okay,
I am so mad that USC was ranked 15th or 15th because Michigan was 14th. So USC is ranked 15th in the nation. They win by a large margin. I know it was a little close, but they were starting a freshman quarterback, but they win like they're supposed to. And they drop 2 spots to 17. It's travesty. What a travesty. I don't know who's in charge. I don't know who's picking the Associated Press. I know maybe they went to sleep before. No, they couldn't have because the Notre Dame game was on, and they have to watch Notre Dame and all those East Coast teams. Like LSU beats up on Miami. Who cares? Who's the other team that shot TCU? Who would they be? Some other Big 12 team or something.
Virginia Tech.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was Virginia Tech. It's like, come on. It's one game. It's one game. If you're LSU, you shouldn't get to go from 25 to 11. This is crazy to me. And it's Ed Orgeron too.
Well, It's Ed Orgeron. It's funny.
Just a little assault on that wound.
Well, but why? Tell me why. You don't really think that's ridiculous? Look at rankings at this point are dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
they're dumb.
Yes, I think it's tough to win and go down a spot or 2 spots.
It's tough, but it's understandable, is it not? Look, LSU beat the number 8 team by 100.
But were they the number 18?
Well, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, LSU couldn't even beat Notre Dame.
But
last we saw them.
I mean, Notre Dame maybe. I mean, that's why Notre Dame's ranked ahead of LSU, Michael.
That is true.
Sure. You could say maybe Miami shouldn't have been the 18, but then maybe USC shouldn't be the 15 team. What's the difference?
That's right. It's just the Associated Press. I know that when they get in the room for the college football playoff, there's some SC homers in there.
Let me ask you. I'll just tell you this: if USC beats Stanford, then they won't be 17 anymore.
Yeah, they'll be 16.
They'll be 10.
Because people will say, Stanford, they're probably not that good. They only beat San Diego State.
Maybe they'll pass. Maybe they'll pass LSU.
Maybe
they'll go to 10.
I doubt it.
Why?
No, because LSU will beat Southwest Missouri State. Look at them keep rolling. Look at LSU keep rolling. SEC baby, toughest conference in NCAA's.
LSU is a lot like Notre Dame, though.
I don't know if you want to tie your flagpole.
Well, no, but
tie your flag to that pole. But okay,
just in terms of the type of team,
they're not real great at throwing, and they like to run.
Well, they didn't get their quarterback play was not good. I was looking at the stats. Someone put up a bunch of stats, and the guy was like, the team on the left is beating the team on the right by 30 points, and the stats were basically the same.
Hey, but that's worth a 12-point pole jump. 13,
well,
14.
What I'm saying is they can look great in one game when it's things go their way. They get a bunch of turnovers, or they get a pick 6. They get a long run, short fields, that sort of thing. But
you mean when it's easy?
Well, when things go your way.
Yeah.
And so, but then it's your quarterback was 10 of 23. So it's your quarterback's not going to go 10 of 23 every week, and you get to, you can't go 10 of 23, and you get to.
That's not good.
You get to win by all those points. So
not great. Not great. All right. Well, that's it for this week. We're waiting for next week. USC has the tougher game. Notre Dame has the cakewalk. We'll see what happens. Follow Greg on Twitter, Greg2126. He's always writing things at uhnd.com. Michael Muto on Twitter. Follow Tilting Ground on Twitter to get the latest podcast. And we will be back next week. Fight on.
Go Irish.